Chapter 4. Race Against Time. The ancient ruin echoed with the pounding of boots and the frantic shouts of the research team as they raced to reach the hidden chamber containing the enigmatic Nexus artifact. Elena Voss and Reland Kale led the charge, their faces etched with determination and a growing sense of dread. The rival faction, a group of heavily armed mercenaries working for a ruthless corporate conglomerate, had infiltrated the site and were now in hot pursuit, their weapons trained on the expedition members. "We can't let them get their hands on the Nexus!" Ryland shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We have to reach it first, no matter the cost!" Elena's heart pounded in her chest as she sprinted alongside him, her mind racing with the implications of the Nexus falling into the wrong hands. "Ryland, we need a plan. Those mercenaries won't hesitate to use force if they have to." "I know," Ryland replied, his expression grim, "but the Nexus is too powerful to be wielded by those who would abuse its capabilities. We have to protect it, no matter the personal cost." As they rounded a corner, the entrance to the hidden chamber came into view, its ornate doorway partially obscured by fallen debris. Reland raised a hand, signaling the rest of the team to take cover, his keen eyes scanning the area for any signs of the mercenaries. "They're close," he murmured, his voice low and tense. "We need to move quickly but quietly. The element of surprise may be our only advantage." Elena nodded, her own senses heightened as she followed Reland toward the chamber entrance. The air was thick with tension, and the sound of their footsteps seemed to echo endlessly through the cavernous ruin. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the far end of the corridor, followed by the distinctive sound of weapons fire. The mercenaries had caught up to them, and they were not holding back. "They've found us!" one of the expedition members cried, ducking behind a fallen pillar as a hail of energy bolts rained down around them. Ryland cursed under his breath, his eyes narrowing in concentration. "We have to get to the Nexus now. Elena, you and the others head for the chamber. I'll hold them off as long as I can." Elena's eyes widened in protest. "Ryland, no, you can't take them on alone. We need to stick together." "There's no time," Ryland replied, his voice firm. "Every second we waste could be the difference between the Nexus falling into the wrong hands or remaining safe. Go, Elena. I'll be right behind you." Before she could argue further, Ryland had already moved to the front of the group, his body tensed for the impending confrontation. Elena hesitated for a moment, torn between her desire to protect Ryland and the need to secure the Nexus. "Everyone! With me!" she shouted, ushering the rest of the team towards the chamber entrance. "Ryland, be careful!" The Arcadian archaeologist nodded, his gaze locked on the advancing mercenaries. "I'll do what I must to keep the Nexus safe. Now go!" Elena led the team through the doorway, her heart pounding in her ears as they raced towards the Nexus. The massive crystalline structure loomed before them, its pulsing glow casting an ethereal light over the chamber. "We have to secure the Nexus, no matter what," Elena said, her voice laced with urgency. "Spread out and scan the area for any potential vulnerabilities or threats." The expedition members sprang into action, their fingers flying over the controls of their scanners and monitoring devices. Elena's eyes darted around the chamber, searching for any sign of Ryland or the mercenaries. Suddenly, a loud explosion rocked the ruin, and the sound of weapons fire echoed through the halls. Elena's breath caught in her throat as she realized that Ryland must still be engaged in a desperate battle to hold off the mercenaries. "We need to help him," one of the team members cried, but Elena raised a hand, her expression resolute. "No, our priority is the Nexus. Ryland knew the risks when he stayed behind, and we have to respect his sacrifice. We can't let the Nexus fall into the wrong hands." The team members hesitated, their faces etched with conflicting emotions, but they ultimately nodded in agreement. They had come too far to jeopardize their mission, and the stakes were too high to abandon the Nexus. As they worked to secure the chamber and prepare the Nexus for transport, another explosion rocked the ruin, this one even closer than the last. Elena felt a chill run down her spine, her mind filled with images of Ryland, bravely holding off the mercenaries in a desperate attempt to buy them time. The sound of approaching footsteps drew her attention, and she whirled around, her hand reaching for the sidearm at her hip. But to her relief, It was Rylan, his clothing singed and his face smudged with soot, but his eyes burning with triumph. "I've slowed them down, but they'll be here soon," he panted, his gaze sweeping over the chamber. "How's the Nexus?" "Secure for now," Elena replied, her voice tinged with a mixture of relief and concern. "But we need to get it out of here quickly. Can you lead the way?" Rylan nodded, his expression grim. "Follow me. We need to move fast before the mercenaries regroup." The expedition team gathered the Nexus and its accompanying equipment, their movements quick and efficient. Elena glanced back at the ancient ruin, her heart heavy with the knowledge that they were abandoning Rylan's people and their sacred heritage. "I'm sorry, Rylan," she murmured, her voice barely audible over the sound of their hurried footsteps. "I wish there was another way." Rylan met her gaze, his expression unflinching. "There is no other way, Elena. The Nexus must be protected, no matter the personal cost. I made my choice, and I stand by it." Elena felt a surge of admiration and respect for the Arcadian archaeologist, his dedication to his world's well-being shining through despite the immense personal sacrifice. She knew that the road ahead would be fraught with peril, but with Rylan by her side, she was determined to find a way to protect the Nexus and the future of Arcadia. As they emerged from the ruin and made their way towards the research station, the sound of the mercenaries' pursuit echoed in the distance. Elena steeled herself, her grip tightening on the Nexus's containment unit. "We're not out of the woods yet," she said, her voice laced with determination. "We need to get this artifact to safety no matter what it takes." Rylan's expression mirrored her own, his eyes burning with a fierce resolve. "Then let's move. The fate of Arcadia hangs in the balance." The expedition team pressed on, their steps quickening as they raced against time, with the mercenaries hot on their heels and the weight of an entire world's future resting squarely on their shoulders. The ancient ruin faded into the distance, but the echoes of the battle that had been fought within its walls lingered, a testament to the high stakes and the unwavering determination of those who sought to protect Arcadia's most precious secrets. As they hurried towards the research station, Elena couldn't help but glance back, her heart heavy with the knowledge that the true test was only just beginning.